Down here in the south, where the shadows stretch long, voices rise up, but the truth feels all wrong. They're taking the harvest while we're plowing the fields. Blind to the game and the cards that they deal. Hearts beat loud, but the noise fills the air. Calling a battle with nobody there. Shut up and think. Can't you see what's real? We're fighting each other, but not to the steel. Shut up and think. Put down all your pride. We got more in common than the lines we divide. They speak in the halls, dressed in suits and ties. Promises broken while the people just cry. We're shouting our truths, but missing the rest. While they build their fortune on the hopes left to rest. Caught in the chaos, hands tied and blind. Listen and learn, leave the hate behind. Shut up and think. Can't you see what's real? We're fighting each other, but none to the steel. Shut up and think. Put down all your pride. We got more in common than the lines we divide. One voice ain't enough if it's lost in war. Let's rise beyond the noise, find what we're fighting for. Together we're stronger, united we'll stand. Free from the shackles that grip this land. Sun and fake, can't you see what's real? We're fighting each other, but not through the steel. Shut up and think. Put down all your pride. We got more in common than the lines we divide. Shut up and think. It's time to wait. We're more than the battles that divide and break. Get up and think. You're the call in the night. We're losing ourselves in the fading light.
Holy crap, another week went by? How you been, Justin?
I was sick.
Oh, poor pumpkin.
Yeah.
Hey guys, what'd you do this week to make the world better? Hey, it's going to be a little different podcast today. Not me showing my ass and screaming and yelling. but we're going to calm down. I'm going to open up a little bit about my own personal life, and just wanted to talk to you today about, and we have a special guest too, very awesome dude, but I'll be introducing him in a minute. A lot of you don't know that a few years back, me and my wife took in my mother and my father, and that were terminally ill, and we had to be caregivers, and it, it was very hard. My dad passed away first. He passed away in 2019. He suffered from cancer, and we had to take care of everything. And you don't understand until you're put in that position what all comes with that, and how unprepared you are for something like that. And then my mom stayed with us until 2023, until she passed, and she had lupus and all sort of thing called Sjogren's syndrome, which is an autoimmune disease. And today we're going to talk about caregiving, because a lot of times you feel alone, and you wish there was people out there, and you wish you knew you weren't alone, because a lot of times you feel alone, and it takes a toll on not just yourself, but if you're married, your personal life, because you got to remember, we were taking care of my mom and dad. That wasn't my wife's mom and dad. And what a strong woman. It takes a very strong woman and a great wife to stand by a man to help take care of his parents in their final stages of life. At that time, man, I wish I had somebody I could maybe not talk to, but at least listen to and watch and help me understand I'm not alone. And the same mistakes I'm making are the mistakes that everybody makes. And sometimes you feel so alone. So many people know this man. He has decided, you know what? I'm going to get on there. I'm going to be the one that people can look at. They can talk shit about me. They can whatever, but I'm going to show them the truth of taking care of your parent and, just being a caregiver. And opened up. And man, I wish he was around when I was going through that so I could see. But he's helped at least thousands of people. His name is Dan Salinger. Hello, Dan. Thank you for coming
Mike.
on the show, buddy.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
Man, we've been watching you for 5 years, and right when we started watching you, dude, it was like I felt like I've known you for 5 years, so it's not hard talking to you. I said, man, why wasn't this dude around before when I was going through this? So could you tell us a little bit about yourself, Dan?
Sure. My name's Dan Salinger. I was born and raised in Northern California, from the Bay Area. Planted over to the Central Valley. I'm near Sacramento, and I was a lawyer. And just about as I had a heart attack in 2019, or the same year your dad passed, and I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you, sir.
And that it kind of changed my life up. That I had to change from being a hard working, just pound feet to the pavement all the time, whatever that took to get through, and partying hard and hanging out. And then it took a toll on my body. I had a heart attack, and I had kids that were in high school and just starting college, and I almost not orphaned them, but left them without a father. And it really profoundly changed my life. And I started retiring immediately from the law and looking for something that was less stressful, and something that I started to reorganize my priorities, and family took a much higher place on my totem pole of what's important than earning or money or professional status or all of those things. That all fade. You retire and it fades.
Yep.
Melvin Belli, one of the greatest attorneys. Well,
Yep.
he's a name now. No one's looking to go look him up. And so I just started to refocus on family, and that's right about the time that my dad needed help. And And I still didn't take them in right away. My brother's the first one who took them in. And by the way, Mike, you described it just perfectly. People don't plan to become caregivers.
No.
It is something that life just comes and throws upon you, akin to however you want to look at it, a car accident or winning the lottery, depending on, your perspective.
Yep.
And I think it's kind of both in my opinion now, but it enabled me to, when it became too difficult for my brother, it enabled me to take them in. And that's what we did. And like you were looking for somebody. So was I. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And it showed when I first started, airing these videos. I mean, there was more criticism than praise. For
Oh
sure.
yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you treating them like that? Why are you talking like that? And I'm going, hey, this is my dad. And all of a sudden he's doing all these crazy things like taking the car with no driver's license or insurance and trying to drive away, or, maybe walk somewhere, not take his pill, all sorts of things that were out of character.
I found myself, because we both had children, and when you're trying to, because it's almost like taking care of your child, but it's your mother or father, and you can't treat them like a child. And I was treating my parent, I was talking to them like I would my kid. And
that's common.
I had to learn, this is my father, he deserves respect. This is my mother, she deserves respect. And I don't know if you went through that.
Interesting way. It's a great perspective, and they do go through these changes. But for me, my attitude is he's always my father, and I'm never going to change that dynamic. It's important for our personal relationship that
yes.
I am still under my dad. There was a video yesterday. I don't know if it made it to air, but I was saying to my dad, you're the boss man. And he's all, oh, I'm the boss man. My dad understands what's going on.
And if people don't know your dad, Dad's the star of the show. Ed Salinger is the star of the show. Let me tell you before we get started, before we go any further, Ed Salinger is a badass. This man is a badass. And Dan's going to tell you what this man survived and what the odds were against this man. And just a total badass. And this man on the screen is a warrior for caregivers. So you need to go follow him. He's going to let us know at the end of the show where we can go to follow him. Guys, he's a warrior, and I'm going to guarantee you may not think so, but one day you may, and more than likely will become a caregiver. And he's only going to benefit you watching him. So go ahead, Dan. I'm so sorry, bud.
No, that's fine. Yeah, there are over 60 million people providing care today in this country. That's an enormous number, unpaid care, for a loved one at home. And those people that would otherwise be a drag on the economy, in there sucking off Medicare and all sorts of other government resources, because most people can't afford this kind of care. They just can't.
Yep.
And so there's 60 million caregivers helping keep America afloat because they're bearing the burden that would otherwise fall on the government. So first of all, kudos to you and all the other caregivers out there that are doing it.
Thank you so much.
It takes a lot, but yeah, I mean, caregiving is it's an all-encompassing task and responsibility and commitment. You don't go halfway. I mean, it's all the way, and it's not something that you kind of slide into an easy routine, because they change and they get worse. And what I was dealing with 2 years ago was completely different than what I'm dealing with today. And I appreciate your kind words about my dad. The man is a tank, and that he's made this process a lot easier than it could have been. We were very fortunate in that way, and he is beating the odds. This man.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just want to jump in.
Anytime you want.
No, brother. I want you to talk, but I am such a loudmouth, and you said you watch a couple of our podcasts. So
you watch our lives. We talk over each other. My wife and I talk over each other all the time.
Ed is still Ed, though, and that's what's amazing. That's what's amazing to me. when he does talk, he's more quieter now than he used to be. But when he does talk, he's still Ed.
That man is still there, and that's a great lesson for people to learn. When you get dementia and you get all these changes, what's underneath is still the same person. And I see it, as someone who grew up with him, I see it. And if I was a paid caregiver or he was in an institution, they might see, he's a jolly old man. I see, that what he was 20 years ago, and
You see Dad.
helps me understand him a little bit, and that was real fortunate. We can't choose, what our caregivers' traits are going to be.
Yeah.
And some people have it a lot harder. Some caregivees are, not easy, and they're going to give it to you every time you want to do something. They're going to give it to you. And
I'm just hoping Justin ain't my caregiver, because I'm going to be abused.
I say to people, say, hey, are your kids going to do for you what you're doing for your dad? I'm not my dad.
Yeah.
I'm not that easygoing. I'm not that, just grateful for everything. I'd be a more difficult caregiver, I think, as well. And that's just my luck. I got my dad, and
I wanted to say too that being from, because you got to understand, I'm from Indiana, Dan. The conservative, yes.
Shirt on for you.
Look what he did there, guys. But we're from a very conservative state, and I wanted to thank Dan for coming on and I don't think we're a right-wing podcast. I am more neutral than I've ever been in my life right now. But I just want to thank you for coming on what others would view as the show that I'm the enemy. And
well, I appreciate you're asking me on, and I don't care what you're as I'm a centrist, and I try and pull people together from both sides. Sure, I lean more left than you do, without a doubt. There may be certain issues that we share in common. I'm more conservative on fiscal issues than I am on social issues. So I'm sure there's a lot of overlap. But the thing is, dementia doesn't give a shit what your political party is. It doesn't care what your race is. It doesn't care your orientation. It doesn't care about any of those things that we arbitrarily draw lines to divide ourselves. Dementia crosses all of them.
And you know what?
For a parent, whether you're a Republican, it doesn't matter.
And it's sickness. It's just sickness, because you can be a caregiver for your nephew or your aunt. Sickness does not care. And we're all going to run into that. Death does not care. The dying process does not care. I want to hand it to you, because I first called up Dan, and Wolf, I'm a little starstruck when I called Dan, because me and my wife has watched him for 5 years. So I was like, oh man, I'm going to call. And he answered he gave me he said, call me up, man, give me a call. So I gave him a call. He's like, yeah, dude, I just want to bring people together. I don't care about political parties. And we discussed, how long did we talk? 45 minutes, Dan, the first time we talked?
Yeah, something like that.
And we both agreed what we can agree on and work on is this big. And the stuff we don't agree on is this big. So let's work on this and forget about this right now. Let's get rid of the hate, and let's get on the journey of taking care of each other, because we can't wait for any government to take care of us if we're not going to take care of each other. And that's how I feel right now. Dan, I don't know what.
And I agree. Nobody's going to step up and take care of your family like you can. I'd love it that if there was great resources out there. There's just not. So you just do what you have to do. Like anything else in life, this is a phase of life. And you said, more people are going to experience with modern medicine. We're living longer. We have longer lifespans, but that means more people are going to be drawn into caregiving, and more people will be caregivees. And we want to benefit both. We want to, help the caregiver make the life better for their care partner or caregivee or loved one, whatever you want to call it. You want to rise. A rising tide brings all the boats up, and that's what we can do, and that's what we should be focused on. You know, the areas of division, that's where we spend all of our time, unfortunately. And we need to spend more time on areas that bring us together as Americans and even more broadly as humans.
As human beings. It's just love for your and I don't want to sound like a pussy, but I mean, but it's love for people, man. I mean, you so many times, Dan, you'll run across people on the street and you'll think they'll do something, and you're like, what an asshole. But you never stop and think, what did that guy? Was that guy just taking care? Say I saw you and you just had a bad day with your dad, and I went to grab milk and you grabbed it before me. I don't think, man, he was just taking care of his dad, who's very sick. We got to start thinking about each other and what we're going through emotionally, because everybody has a story, Dan, and
everyone's going through shit.
Everyone.
Right? I mean, everybody's got stuff. You know, we look at social media and people, you know, present these channels where everything is just great. And I got the great marriage. I got a great family. We got no problems. Everything's bullshit.
Yep.
You know, I was a criminal defense attorney for a lot of years, and I saw not just my client, you know, it was really, you see their whole family and their whole family dynamic. And I've seen people at their absolute worst, and I've seen their public image, their what's behind the scenes. And that, you know, that kind of really helps me do what I do. Like, you know, like you said, I don't give a shit what people think.
No.
Because I know you got some crap going on behind the scenes. I know it. You know, all the crap I have going on is out.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah, I mean, I have the same problems as everybody else. I have marital issues. I get upset. I get depressed. I get tired. I get angry. And so it's okay to share that. You know, it's how we deal with those issues that really matters. And it's changed my outlook. You know, in the last 5 years, I've changed a lot. Like grabbing the milk. My attitude today would be, take the fucking milk.
Yeah.
Take 3 of them. I mean, I don't really care. You know, or you want to get in ahead of me, go ahead. Get in ahead of me on the road, because what difference does it make in my life?
Yes.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to flip people off on the road. I wave to people I walk every day. I wave to every single car that comes by.
Yeah.
Because why not? You know,
it's just
why
being
not?
kind.
And that's the type of stuff we got to push out.
What I really want to talk about too, if you don't mind, is that I went through, me and my wife, and this just I think you just recently started talking about your marriage. I don't think this has been a long thing. I don't, you know, about having to work on your marriage. Me and my wife went through a terrible time. I mean, almost packing up and leaving. She was ready to. And if you're a caregiver and you're going through that right now, that's not odd. That's not something out of the ordinary.
That's the rule. That's not the exception.
If you could talk about that a little bit, Dan, because you
absolutely. Caregiving it has physical impacts, has emotional impacts on people's lives. Physically, caregivers are much more likely to get sick, to suffer from depression, mental illness, isolation, sickness. Caregivers are susceptible to physical problems because you're doing lifting and things, and marital problems. You know, when we first started, you know, it was so hard. I remember a night specifically, my wife broke down. She got in the car and she just drove away. And I'm like, I'm here. I am sitting with my dad. This is probably, you know, right at the very beginning of social media. We weren't real, you know, our private life wasn't out there as much at this time. And it was like, I didn't know what was going to happen at that point. Is she coming back? Is she not? Did we just break something? And you know, it's not like you can sit and concentrate on I have my dad right there. I still have to worry about him, you know, and my son was sick with a kidney disease at the time, and all these things together. And it is so hard on a marriage. And what I was touching on in the video you're referring to, you know, caregiving is, you know, you get up in the morning, you got to get them up, you got to get them changed, you got to walk them, you got to get them breakfast, you got to walk them again, you got to change them again, you got to get them lunch, you got to walk them, you got to get them up, deal with any medical stuff, doctor's appointments, give them their pills, then you got to walk them, change them, then you got to get them dinner, then you got to put them to bed, and then you got to change them throughout the night. And it can get so much that you just find yourself, instead of taking 5 minutes to, deal with an issue that I have with Danielle, whatever it may be, all of a sudden I find myself changing my dad, or I'm going to change. It's easier to go change my dad than it is to confront whatever issues and you can use caregivers as an excuse to ignore issues in your marriage. And, this caregiving thing, you think for a year or two, how long is it going to be? Well, we're 5 years in, and for that many years of doing that, things can add up and,
Oh,
take their toll. And so it's important, Danielle and I have to every once in a while sit down and break it down. What we're doing is not normal. This is not our normal lives. Let's look at what we have and what positives we're getting from this, including social media, as opposed to the exhaustion, frustration, exasperation, all those things that come and really knock caregivers down. And just another thing to add to the list. And we're doing it. And I shared that for the same reason you did, the same reason you want to point out to people, if you're going through this, it's normal. And so that's why I put that out there.
well,
It's going to take a toll on marriage.
I found myself, Dan, I got depression really bad because in my mind, here I am, I'm watching, I'm taking care. The end result is my parent being gone. And I'm taking care of the woman who took care of me my whole life. And I got depression real bad, where I was I think I was thinking of myself more than I even was my mother. And
That's normal.
and
That's normal.
and I'm telling my wife, easy for you. This is my mom. I'm watching, but she's watching my mom die too. She's known my mom forever, and she's doing a lot of the caregiving, and it's that I just lost touch, and I never sat with her and talked. And I found that when we talked, we would decompress, and it was like a reset. Not that we never got mad again, but it got so bad where I let it go so long, she was done. And what was I to say? I was the cause of it. I had no defense.
And like you, I the same way. Here she is caring for my dad. Who the hell am I to complain when she bitches at me or whatever? I am so grateful for what she's doing that my tolerance for, whatever, however she reacts to me, it's like, okay, I go ahead, shoot away, because I deserve it. And, you are amazing for what you're doing.
Oh,
and I couldn't do it without you.
Great women. The guys, if your wife is helping you take care of your mother, your father, you have a wonderful wife. And realize how strong that woman is, and love her and cherish her. I mean, but what me and my wife were laughing about the other night was, we fought all the time and stuff. We miss my mom so bad because when she was gone, we didn't know what to do with ourselves. It was like empty nest syndrome. We had to get to know each other, because it was like our whole purpose in life is gone.
Right.
And it feels that way.
It's exactly like empty nest syndrome. And, it's like when my kid played soccer for 17 years and, and she went through college, and when she was done, and that was my time. Oh, I was living on the internet, reading the stats of the other teams and the players and all this, practices. What are you doing? And then bam, it's just gone.
Yeah.
And it was empty. And that's right when all this started to happen. So, and in fact, it kind of was almost perfect the way I went from nothing. And especially when I retired to something. And then what you're saying is when this ends, there's an emptiness.
Yes.
And I know that because when my dad was in the hospital and my wife would spend the nights in the hospital, she slept in the frickin' hospital, Mike, from 8 to 8 when I would relieve her.
Oh, I remember that. I remember those shows where
I was doing lives and stuff from home, and literally he was not supposed to make it out of that space. And so
you did a very good job covering that up. You really composed yourself very well.
Well,
Because
it was very difficult for me, and strange things happen. But real quick, the point is when I would walk through in the morning to go to the hospital and see the empty room, it hit me, and he wasn't dead.
yeah,
He was still in my mind, hopefully coming back to that room. We didn't know if he was ever going to leave the hospital because a lot of people don't
yes,
in his situation. But during that time, it's really funny, I am not a religious person, not particularly spiritual. Almost have an aversion to organized religion because of what I had different people when I was growing up trying to push me, and grandparents with different religions, and
yeah,
you're going to hell and this kind of stuff, and it kind of just meeting with priests and pastors and people that were trying to save me.
yeah,
My grandmother's trying to save my soul. I
yes.
understand it now, and the love that went there, but it made me really just I didn't organized religion just didn't do it for me. And then when I found myself in that situation where I'm reading the statistics, and there's a 25% chance he's not going home from the hospital. There's a 50% chance he'll be dead in 6 months. I found myself, if you watch some of those old videos, talking about prayer, please prayer. And we have, on my channel, I have every single religion, from Hindu. I have a lot of Muslims because they value taking care of your parents.
Yes.
A lot of Christians, and of course, every religion on the planet was praying for my dad, and it gave me, it's like I
Oh,
don't know.
of course.
Do I know? Is there a God or not? I don't know for sure. I'll take the backup just in case. I'll take it. Prayer, and
Well, see,
it
Dan, you
helped
were
me.
wrong and we were right. No, just playing.
Well, if I ask my dad that question, he'll say, "I'll let you know as soon as I'm dead. I'll let you know who's right or who's wrong." But it did provide me with some comfort, that a dark abyss, nothingness. If your belief is nothing, there's nothing after this. There's nothing out there. It's kind of a cold.
That scares me.
Thing
I'd rather
somebody's
believe.
dying. And so while I'm not spiritual in the moment,
And you'll
I'm
grab
more
on,
open.
dude. When you're in that situation, you'll grab onto anything.
Anything.
Because your mom and dad have been people don't understand this until it happens to them. That's the only permanent thing you've ever had in your life until it's gone. And when I was a 50-some-year-old orphan, that's how I felt, Dan. I was like, I was lost. And
I get it. And I feel the same way. My parents are the closest thing that I have in this world, even strangely, almost more than my kids. Maybe because I've known them, so much longer.
It is.
And been dependent on them. And I am dreading, and both my mom and my dad, I know that's coming.
And I don't want to scare nobody. Ed is doing fabulous for what he's been through. And you guys they talked to you about hospice, and they pretty much laughed at you, didn't they?
Well, so after his hip surgery, it was a very difficult recovery. Not the hip itself, but he had a catheter in because when you're that old with dementia, it's not one thing that's wrong with you. He had a hip problem, sure, but he also had an enlarged prostate that made it difficult for him to empty his bladder. So he had this catheter in for a good 5 months, and he was getting UTIs after UTIs. He was going downhill. He was walking, a quarter of what he walks today. And I was calling my siblings going, "Hey, you better get out and visit dad because I honestly don't know how long he's going to be here." So I was a long period like that. And it was kind of during one of those periods we requested a hospice review, and then the catheter came out, and holy shit.
Yeah.
Mike, I mean, he just all of a sudden became a different person. And all of a sudden, we're walking, and that was a surgical procedure to get that out.
And Dan,
he had to,
watching, and I want you to know, I don't know if you get, because I have people come up to me as small as I am and go, "Man, I never thought of what you said on your podcast. Thanks." But I want you to understand that people watch you and they care. And we could see when the improvement of your dad, it was like, holy shit. Because I was like my wife, and I don't like saying this to you, but I'm like, man, that looks like mom. He's looking like mom did. And all of a sudden, it was like one day I watched you get him up, and it was a totally different dude.
Yeah.
What a
It's
badass,
amazing.
man.
And that doesn't happen with this.
No.
Mentally, cognitively, he's never going to improve.
Yes.
But physically, once we could clear those infections out and get that catheter out of his body, I don't know, that was such a, when you're walking and your penis is dragged by
Oh,
something
yeah.
thick
Oh,
every time you move, and it's sore and it's bad, and it's a god awful thing. And we had to fight to get that disease, to get that procedure, because the reality is the way the medical system is. Put him off 5 months, he's not going to be alive. What's the point?
and unfortunately, that's true.
Be here. So it's really, I had to fight and fight and fight and fight, and finally we got it. And sure enough, he improved. So when we got to the hospice evaluation, by that time, he's walking around and he's a different person. And the doctor said, look, we just don't, and it's a real thing. Like, hospice services are really expensive.
Oh.
It's a lot of money for the government. So you have to regulate who
Of course.
qualifies, and you can't just let anybody in, or it's expensive stuff. It's a lot of money they spend sending people to your house, and all the diapers and the equipment and all the things that come with
But
it.
they are great, Dan. They
are incredible.
They
they
are special people.
They are incredible, and we're gonna make, we're creating something to help future caregivers, and we're gonna have hospice as a part of it. You mentioned grief, counseling, that emptiness. We're gonna have grief as part of it, because it's all connected. And it doesn't stop when the person dies, like you said. It just, for the caregiver, all of a sudden you're like losing, not only are you dealing with the grief of losing your parent, but you're losing your purpose, like you said. That's the key word, purpose.
The thing is when their pain ends, that's when yours begins.
That's when you start to feel the pain.
Yep.
Right. And so I'm trying to create something to help people get through
let's talk about that right now, since you brought it up. And where your podcast is going.
Okay, so first of all, there's a couple things. I'm going to take my podcast that I attribute to to my dad. Right, it's a really successful podcast, and this man at 90 years old, in the throes of dementia, is still able to gift his child this incredible platform and the voice that comes along with it. It's like most parents are never able to give their kids something like that. And he does it with dementia at the end of his life. Here, Dan, I'm going to throw you these a couple million followers so that you can carry on after I'm gone. So I attribute most of that to my dad. And as a tribute to that, I want to create something worthwhile with it. In addition to the crazy that you see, where we get on there and we have fun and we're vulgar and it's just couples bullshit.
It is fun.
That's the idea, is to make it fun. You can caregive and you can still have fun. Let's go hang out for a couple hours and drink some beers and on a Saturday night while you're caring for your loved one, and let's live while we're caregiving. And that's part of that live. But I also want to do something meaningful and help people. So I'm starting some segments where I'm going to bring on experts. I'm going to take advantage of notoriety that people that and the channel that I have that can attract guests that can benefit people. So like I'm starting a new podcast where I'm going to bring on experts or other caregivers and talk about real issues, so people aren't inundated with fake information, bad information that's so prevalent over the internet. So my first guest is going to be a world-renowned gerontologist, Dr. Carrie Bernight, and we're scheduling it for next week or the week after, and we're going to talk about issues that affect older people and how you can engage in things to give you a better quality of life as you age. And so things that are really important. And then I'm going to bring on a caregiver who takes care of her brother who had a tragic accident, and she's married with a couple kids, and all of a sudden her brother's he's going to go to an institution, and she stepped up with the help of her husband, and she's now caring for this brother and all the issues. To me, that stuff is for me, I see it as more of a responsibility what I'm doing. I don't, a lot of people give me a lot of praise, and I'm doing what I should be doing.
Yep.
My parents did it for me. It's nobody else's responsibility to care for them, in my opinion. So I'm going to do it. This, when siblings step up and put their own life on hold, it's not a temporary hold.
No.
When you take on that, and you're especially somebody who doesn't have a terminal disease, they can live. I mean, she's literally making a decision to change her life to help the quality of life for her sibling.
Yes.
Right. And to me, respect was just, oozing out of my pores. So that was somebody I reached out to. I'm going to do what you're doing and, bring someone on and do this in reverse.
It's awesome. I mean, for people just to hear your story, Dan, they can relate. And that's the biggest thing, to feel a connection. And that's why I think so many people talk blunt to you, because I know you don't know us from Adam, but we feel like we know you guys. And I'm like, I tell my son, I love that guy. And Justin's like, ain't that a little too strong, Dad? And I'm like, no, I feel like you feel like part of the family. But the criticism this man and his wife takes, and the bullying online, and I know you're going to downplay it, Dan, so I'm not. These people take one night a week, and they still share it with the world to have fun and go live. And they have Dan's dad, Ed, right there with them. And people are fucking criticizing them for having Dan's dad right there. Where in the fuck do you want him to be? Chained to a bed? I mean, and Dan is such a sweet human being. He just plays it. Now, Danielle, she'll get pissed. You got to know his wife. She is fucking awesome. I love her. She is great. But Dan seems to be the schmoozer, and you don't know what they're going through. Blah. But it pisses me off, Dan. I get up there, I get in there, and I type, "Shut the fuck up."
I appreciate that, but I half of that is people, social media, and I know, because it's not just us. Anybody on social media. If you start to gain a following, you're gonna get this shit following you around, and we've had it from day one.
But I feel like it's personal to me. I get so mad.
I could feel that way, and then I wouldn't be able to do it. To me, if I was, Danielle gets frustrated with it, and to me, I go, I don't know that person, and I'm confident enough in myself that that I'm proud of what I'm doing. I'm not ashamed to show whatever, good or bad, and it ain't all good, right?
Somebody typed to her, "Why don't you get off TikTok?" She goes, "Why in the fuck don't you get off TikTok?"
I remember, that's exactly what you're talking about. There's thousands of people on here right now, and you want me to get off to make you happy? Just scroll. Don't like. But people do come to those lives specifically to create shit because of Danielle and I's dynamic, and we don't hold back. It's just, and we're not united against people. We are ourselves.
But that's when you get to know the Salingers. Them lives is when you get to know the Salingers. And I'm going to tell you, Dan, you're like every other married couple I've ever met. It is great. Because even there, you see, man, I ain't alone. My wife yells at me like that too. Or, why am I having to smoosh her? But Danielle, you guys, you got to watch them. It's informative, but man, it is just, Dan starts singing to his dad and singing songs to him. He is a rock star. Dan, you are great. But back to what I really wanted to let everyone know, and I'm stumbling all over myself, but my viewers are used to it. When all is said and done, and when the last curtain's drawn, and I hate talking about this, how do you feel that you will feel about yourself on how you've done? Because I struggle with myself.
Okay, so
Maybe that's too harsh of a question to ask
no,
somebody.
it's a great question. I just want to put it in context for your audience and what you're talking about. When you are a caregiver, you're going to find yourself disappointed in yourself for your deficiencies. We are human, and when you are caregiving for somebody 24 hours a day, you're going to find that there's times when you jump, you may yell, you may be mean, you may lose your patience. All of these things that you as a caregiver, once it's over, you carry this guilt around, right? And it's inevitable. And the
And
person that you're
mine,
caring for forgets.
mine is a pair of slippers. We talked about that. I didn't buy my mom them slippers. It kills me to this day. It just pisses me off about myself. So much guilt over a $10 pair of Walmart slippers, dude.
Yeah. And you can't, and I'll tell people, you can't, if I let myself get down, it's like falling off a bike. You're going to make mistakes. You got to get back up, and you can't look back at the mistake. If I look back at the stuff I did at the very beginning, I wanted to get down on myself when I was terrible. I didn't know what was happening with my dad, and I didn't know that I couldn't yell him into in the early stages, argue him into the correct position, and as I'm losing the argument with them to getting angrier. I mean, those approaches were so bad and they were so wrong and not helpful for him. But again, I was ignorant. I didn't know how to handle things, so I'm not going to beat myself up. I hopefully I've made up for it subsequently since then, and I think I have, but I still lose it at night. I had when the video I was talking the poop and the other night, and I'm yelling and Dad, you gotta push. And think about this for a second. Somebody's forgotten how to push their own poop. How do you put that in words for somebody? You got to push, Dad. So my dad's like pushing on his things. I'm going, no, push. You got to out of your butt, Dad. You got to push the poop out of your butt. And then I literally get down and demonstrate, and go and make a noise because it's so hard. And
to
the guy
verbally
can't hear.
Yeah.
You can't hear what I'm saying. So what are you talking about? And it is frustrating, but I try and catch myself, and oftentimes I can catch myself in the midst of it where I just take a breath. Let's get him cleaned up. This is all going to be over in half an hour, no matter what happens, no matter how crazy I get. I'm getting better, but I do carry caregiver guilt because we all do.
I guess I gave the question wrong. I'm new at this, Dan. Give me a break, man. But has it made you a better person, do you think?
Oh my God! Now, when you put the question like that, I could tell you, I think it's a number of things. I think primarily caregiving, and when you turn yourself over to the care of somebody else, to the expense of all of your own personal priorities. And then once you step away from those priorities, I kind of learned how petty many of my priorities were. And that just things that I thought were important that just aren't. And so at this point in life, like waving to people, that's new. And it's all related. I love myself so much more today than I did 8 years ago. If the person I was 10 years ago, dickhead. I mean, I don't lawyer, dickhead. Quick, let's do this. Don't waste my time. I got important things to do. I got to get to court. I got to do this. I got to pay my bills. I got to go out to my steak dinner and do all sorts of other unhealthy things. I love myself a lot more than I did, and that's probably for me the biggest thing about caregiving. Caregiving is going to end, but I've matured during this period, and I've found what I think is important in life, and dispelled a lot of the other things that used to drag me, societal things, the way society thinks you should be or a lawyer should be, and that kind of stuff is now gone. So I like myself a lot more today than I did before.
You said loving yourself, and My wife and I, and even Justin here, have talked about, because Justin helped me a lot with my father. Uh, you thought, because all that stuff like doing unhealthy things, being an asshole, being a dickhead, all that stuff is because the world will tell you it's because you loved yourself. And I think caregiving wakes you up and gives you a different kind of love for yourself that's meaningful, that ain't fleeting. Do you know what I'm saying? Because all that other shit can come and go. As you know, it comes and goes. But this
comes and goes quick.
And
it comes and goes quick, and it's meaningless, at the other end. That you're hitting it on the head. I mean, you let go of what's not important, you embrace what's important, and you feel better as a human. And there's a saying, it feels better to give than to take. And that's been true in my experience.
It's true all the way around, Dan.
The more that I step out, and the more that's what's motivating me to do things for other people. It's not just this great desire to be a good guy. It makes me feel good inside. It gives me more pleasure than settling a case and making $10,000 and collecting that check. And I've done a lot. I've done a lot of pro bono work in the last 5 years. Even though I haven't been practicing, something comes up, and so many times I've helped people. What's it going to cost? You're my friend. I've known you for 15 years. I'm not going to charge you. And then I'll get a gift card to somewhere and just a really nice note. And then every time I see that person going forward, they look at me differently. They look at me differently.
Because it's a different kind of value they have in you. It's not about getting me out of trouble, or it's about that guy actually does care. And you learn to care more because the money, believe me, I had it and it's gone.
Yeah, and I've had it and had it gone too. So I'm with you. And, Mike, the funniest thing is the happiest times in my life, the absolute happiest were when I had nothing. When we had to literally take change out of our ashtray to go in and buy lunch, or 75 cents worth of gas in the car, and yet I was happy. And I'm finding now, as I'm reverting back with less money, Danielle's not happy.
No, the wives never are, because we're there right now. So
no, I mean, she's angry, for the fact that a lot of people go back to work after their heart attacks, as you know. But Danielle, it's not just the heart attack; it's all these other things that have come to that have
to be.
And there's other things that I haven't talked about, in dealing with the law that I just didn't like. And I think I want a different path. My second half of life, I still want to contribute. I want to work, but I don't want to do what I was doing before. And it's most difficult on my wife for sure, because she's done her half of the bargain. She raised the kids, she takes care of the house, she does the laundry, she's done everything, and been a great mother and a great wife. And then I feel a little like I let her down in some aspects.
I'm going through the same thing, Dan. It's amazing. I'm going through the same thing right now. It's like she's like, everything's done now, and now we don't have money. We can't do things. When we could, when we had money, we couldn't because we had these responsibilities. Now that we could.
You got 8 kids, man.
Yeah, I know, dude.
Money and 8 kids don't go together.
No. But
a brand new thing. It costs $300,000 to raise a kid right now.
Not in my house. It costs about 30.
Well, you got economies of scale.
Ramen noodles and Chef Boyardee, man. That's what you're eating. I'm just kidding. They eat a little bit better than that. Not much, but a little bit.
Hey, food is another thing, and the funny thing is, the expensive stuff that we were eating before is worse than, certainly worse than I'm eating now.
Yeah.
A cube of butter and you go to a steak shop, you're eating, you're unhealthy. Let's put it that way.
It is so delicious.
It is so delicious, Mike. That's the problem.
Dan,
and I haven't given up everything, right? I drink my beer, and I cheat at night. Every night I cheat. I eat healthy during the day, but I haven't let that go.
I am just a lard ass who just don't care. I eat whatever I fucking want. So
Well,
I'll be dead in a
that.
year, Dan.
When you have the heart attack, that kind of that changed, you know.
Well, it's probably going to take more than that, Dan. I'm pretty stubborn, but
You never know. Whatever it takes, you never know what it is that's going to knock you in the ass. But again, you know, I'm not perfect. I still do a lot of things that are unhealthy. I'm not going to give up all the little simple pleasures in life that I'm, you know, my nicotine that I'm doing, not healthy, but I'm doing it because, you know, still have to be me.
man,
I'm not perfect.
gotta have something. No one likes a quitter, Dan.
Nobody likes a quitter. Right. Corks are for quitters, Mike. Corks are for quitters.
Brother,
Wine.
I just want to tell you, I love your family. I love what you guys are doing. I love what you've done. I'm looking forward to seeing how your channel grows and what you guys do. If at any time you need somebody to talk who's caregiving, a regular old hillbilly from Indiana, that if you ever want to talk to just a regular guy who took care of his mom and dad, give me a call. I'd be more than happy to help you out, dude. And where can people find you, Dan? How can they find you?
If you can find me, my handle is DSalNorCal, and I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And Mike, likewise, let's stay in touch.
Definitely.
Again, I can talk to you. You're easy. I'd love to come back on in a few months and see how you're doing.
And let's everybody keep Ed in prayer. He's a badass, but you know what? A little help never. And keep Dan in your prayers. Look at him. He's thinking about quitting nicotine. We can't let him do that. So
I got my nicotine back safely right there.
Dan, thank you so much for being on, brother. You are a warrior for caregivers. And man, we love you. And I'm glad you're out there. And I'm glad you chose to do what you did. Thank you so
thanks
much.
For having me, man.
We love you, bro. Bye-bye.
Take care.
That was Dan Salinger. What a great guy, man. Awesome guy. Awesome family. You guys need to check him out. That's all we got for you. Man, that was great. I had a great time. How about you, Justin?
It was good.
All right.
It was a good time.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining in. We're going to get back into the bullshit next week. Mike will be yelling and screaming about something. I guarantee it. All right. So we'll see you next week. And you know what? No one loves you. We do. So go out there and make the world a better place. Be somebody. We'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.